Hi everybody, thanks for coming back to OneMinuteDigital.com. Today I am going to show you as quickly as possible. This is going to be a much longer tutorial, but I get a lot of requests for doing design for postcards and flyers and business cards and full design tutorials, so they do take a little bit longer. We're going to design this flyer. It's a very basic real estate flyer for your client or for yourself if this is your listing, and I'm going to show you from sort of top to bottom how to make this happen. The first thing I'm going to show you is, because I'm going to do this a lot in this tutorial and it might be hard to follow along with if you have not done this before. So using this photo as an example, I'm going to show you how to resize this in Illustrator. If you don't see, when you select an image, if you don't see these white boxes around your image, go up to View, Bounding Box. It'll probably say Show Bounding Box. And that way you see these around your image. You're going to need that showing. Okay, so with your image selected, the way you resize them in Adobe Illustrator is to hold down Shift, hover over one of the corners until you see those two diagonal arrows, and then drag it. Oops. Select it, hold down Shift, click and drag. Holding down Shift keeps it in proportion. If you don't hold down Shift, you're going to get them all whacked and out of proportion. We don't want that. So holding down Shift, hover over till you see those diagonal arrows, and pull it out. To rotate an image, you hold down Shift, hover over till you see that curved arrow there, click and drag. And that will keep it at a 45-degree angle or 90-degree angle. That's how you do that. Okay, so let's start. Now this is the flyer we're going to do, very basic flyer. All these images I got from morguefile.com, a great place for free stock photos, but I'm going to assume that when you're designing your flyer, your client has given you, or you have, a folder full of images that are 300 dpi and CMYK. Now if you don't know how to resize your images to CMYK and make them 300 dpi, look at my tutorial for the business card. It's the only one I have on my YouTube channel. And in the beginning of that video, it shows you how to resize images in Photoshop. We're not going to do that today. We're going to assume they are all 300 dpi and CMYK, which is suitable for printing. So what I'm going to do is make this smaller and move it off to the side so I can kind of refer to it as we work, because I'm going to copy this and show you how to do it from start to finish. Okay, so here's our artboard. Now you get this by going to, in Illustrator, go to File, New, and instead of, it defaults to letter, which is 8.5 by 11, we're going to change the size, if this is for printing, to 8.625 by 11.125. That gives it a little bit of bleed around the edge that's going to be cut off by a printer. So that would be your new file. Once you have your file started, excuse me, we're going to start by, let's place the image in there. Let's place the image of the exterior of our home. So go to File, Place, find the folder where you have your images. I have them here, and I have labeled this exterior.tiff and place. Now there's our exterior photo. Now this image is 300 dpi, but as you can see at its full size, it is not big enough to fill up the entire space. So we're going to make it bigger, and it will lose a little bit of resolution, but not that much. We're not making it extraordinarily bigger, so it's going to be okay. So with that selected, hover over until you see those diagonal arrows, hold down Shift, click and drag until it fills up your entire artboard. Goes all the way to the edge. There we go, there's half our flyer designed already. We're almost there. Now the next thing we have is this little triangular banner up in the corner that says Just Listed. Now if you look over here in our tools, we don't have, where our shapes are, a triangle tool. Illustrator doesn't give you one, but we can very easily make one by selecting the rectangle tool. Click anywhere on your artboard, hold down Shift, click and drag. That makes a perfect square no matter how big you make it. Hold down Shift, click and drag. Now I'm going to make it the color that I want. You double click on your color picker here and you would pick a color. I'm going to make it, by using my eyedropper tool, the color that I picked for that, green. And now we have our square. Again, over here in your toolbar, find the pen tool, click and hold, and scroll till you find Delete Anchor Point Tool. That's what we're going to use. Now, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Click, with that tool selected, click in the bottom right corner of your square, and boom, it becomes a rectangle. Zooming out, all we need to do now is move that up to the corner. Zooming in, we just place it right there in the corner. It's a little bit big. We make it a little bit smaller. And if you remember how we do that, we select it, hold down Shift, click, and drag, keeps it in proportion. And I think that's big enough for our little banner there. So there we go. Now let's type just listed. Using our type tool, click anywhere and type just listed. And it defaults to myriad and it defaults to flush left. What we want to do is make that something different, something a little bolder. I'm going to use Arial Black, makes it nice and thick. I'm going to click up here in these alignment tools and click center type. And let's make it white by using our color picker here. And a little bit smaller to fit here. And that's about right. The only problem is it's not at a 45-degree angle like our triangle is. So remember what I showed you before. I'll zoom in a bit. With that type selected, hover over the corner until you see, it's hard to see there, those two bendy, it's actually like arrows on a curve. Hold down Shift, click, and drag, and that keeps it at a 45-degree angle, and that'll fit very nicely inside your triangle. There we go. So now we have that banner made. Now let us bring the other pictures in first here actually. We have 4 pictures of our listing, and that's a little tedious, but we go to Illustrator, File, Place, and place the rest of our images that we're going to use. Oop, they're pretty big, but don't worry about that. They're 300 dpi, ready to go. Bedroom, living room, and place backyard, and place our sink. Now we have all 4 images that we're going to use in our listing. They're all huge and off the artboard, so let's make them, first of all, a little smaller so we can deal with them. So clicking on the image, hold down Shift, pick any corner, click and drag, keeps it in proportion. Other one, hold down Shift, click and drag, hold down Shift, click and drag, hold down Shift, click and drag. Now they're manageable. We can see where they're going to go. Now we have them, place them in order that you want them on your flyer. I think I did the bedroom first, then the sink, then the backyard, and then the living room. Let's zoom in, and they're all different sizes and they're kind of wonky, so we want to make sure they're all the same size and they're spaced equally on our artboard. So first of all, go to our shape tools here in our toolbar, select the rectangle tool, and let's make a nice size rectangle that would take about 1/4 of the page, and that looks about right to me. So we've just drawn a white rectangle. Let's go over to our color picker and change that by using these arrows here to a white stroke only. So now we can see the frame of how we're going to crop our image. I think I need to show more of the floor, less of the carpet. You just sort of use your arrows with that image selected and move it till you get that nice crop inside the frame you made. Now click on just the frame. Sorry about that. Click on just the frame and copy it by going to Edit, Copy, which is Command C on a Mac or Control C on a PC. I'm going to do Command C. I'm copying that rectangle into my pasteboard. Now select both of those images, the image and the frame, and hit Command key and number 7 on your keyboard, and that crops it to the stroke that was on top of it. Now we're going to go to the next one, hit Edit, Paste, or Command or Control V, and that's going to paste that rectangle that we just made, which we know is the exact same size. Let's go over to this one. It's a little too small, so clicking on the image, hold down Shift, click and drag, get as much of that image as we can in there, making sure we can see that crop. Now select both, Command and the number 7 on your keyboard, or Control number 7 if you're on PC. Now these 2 images are exactly the same size. Let's do it on the next one. We still have that stroke copied in our pasteboard, so paste it there. And here that's pretty good. Let's make the image a little smaller to fit in there. Select both, Command and number 7. And our last one here, let's paste again that stroke so we can see the exact size. And make the image, in this case, a little bit bigger. And get as much as we can in there. Select both and hit Command and the number 7. Now we have all 4 images exactly the same size. Now we want to distribute them across the flyer and have them be equal distant. And the way you do that is select all 4 of them, and now go up to the top here. You get a toolbar, and there's a weird little image, your alignment box, and then all these alignment tools that we have. In the alignment box, make sure Align to Artboard is selected. And now just hover over until you find the horizontal Align Center tool. Click there. Now let's put all of them together in the same horizontal line. Keep going until you find the vertical align center. Click there, and now it looks like there's only one image, but those are exactly one on top of another. That's so it just looks like there's one, but there's four there. Keep going until we find our distribute tools. And we want to horizontally distribute left. Click there. And now we have all four images equally spaced across our artboard. Now, the way I have it here, up here in this corner, as you can see, there's a little space in between. Now, that's a matter of taste. You can have space in between them, or you can have them up against each other. I'm going to show you how to, if this happens, give yourself more space. Let's select them all. Holding down Shift, go to the corner, click, oops, that happens, just go up here to layer. Sometimes I accidentally click that. Hold down Shift, click and drag. Come on. Hold down Shift, click and drag, make it a little bit smaller. We're going to give ourselves some space in between the images. And now go back up again to your distribute left tools. Click there, and now it distributed them again perfectly with a little bit of space in between each time. Let's move that down a little bit. Now if we zoom out, we can see we've got our flyer more than half done. Now let's go back up to this address bar here. All you do for that, click your rectangle tool, click and drag about where it should go. There. Using your eyedropper tool or your color picker, you can select the color that you made for your banner, and there we have it. Now the next thing that goes there, as you know, is your listing. So just click anywhere with your type tool and type your address, 1234. Let's do it all caps. Main Street. Bullet point is option and the number 8, space, any town, USA, 12345. And using your black arrow tool, let's move it over. It's a little bit small, and it's not the font that I want for this one. So let us hold down Shift, click and drag, same as we did for the images, to make it as big as we want. That looks pretty good. Let's make it white using the color picker. And I'm going to change that by going to Window, Type, Character, to the most boring font in the world, Times New Roman. And we could even make it a little bit bigger after that. I only choose Times, not for any design purpose, but because it's very, very much used between designers and printers, and if for some reason you accidentally sent this without outlining your fonts, nothing weird would happen. Everybody has Times on their machine and it would look fine. So there we go. Now we have our address in there, and we are good. Now we're going to skip the stuff in the middle, actually, and we're going to make this bottom shape here. It seems complicated, but it really isn't. Let us go over to our toolbar again, and this time select the ellipse. Now click and drag at the bottom here. Don't hold down Shift for this one. We're going to make a nice kind of curve, and you can sort of see, you can start to feel with your eye where it's going to go. Let's make a nice curve. I think that's about right. And it defaulted to white there. And let's make that the green that we used. And you can kind of judge, well, I think about it looks good about there. And that's going to be the little curve we have under his banner. Now to crop that, zoom out a little bit, go back to your toolbar, select the rectangle tool, click anywhere on your artboard, and make it 8.625 by 11.125 inches. Say OK. Now that makes a rectangle the exact size of your artboard. Put it directly on top. With that selected, hold down Shift, select the oval you just made, and again we're going to crop it by hitting Command and the number 7. And now we have our banner at the top with nothing hanging off the edge. If you use your white selection arrow, you can click in there at this point and move it up and down, and it will still stay masked because we've made a clipping mask for it, so you can move that around if you need more or less room for that banner. I think that looks good. Now let us place our realtor photo in there. It's going to go on top of this banner here on the left-hand side. So in our folder we have the picture of our realtor. We'll place it there. It's a very large picture. Again, using your black arrow, hold down Shift, click and drag until we get it a nice size. I'll put it there. That takes up a good amount of space. That's a little too big actually because we need room for our type. So there we go. There's our realtor. Now we just need to fill in the type that goes for his banner and the description of the property. You will be given that hopefully by your client. Let's see. And I have the information here under my property description in the folder. And this is just dummy text that I got, lorem ipsum text. We're going to copy that, and we're going to assume that is the description of this property. We're going to, using our type tool, click and drag and make a nice big rectangle that will fit all of our text in it. Paste that text in there. And it is centered right now, so let's go up using our black arrow. Let's go to Window, Type, Paragraph. Oops, it was there already and it disappeared. Window, Type, Paragraph. And let's make it justified so it makes a nice shape, a nice clean shape at the edge there. And we don't have to worry about cleaning that up too much. That looks pretty good. We'll line up his picture with the edge of that type. Okay, so there's our description of our property. The next thing we have are these bullet points. I'm going to leave those for last just because I need to make sure I have room for all this type at the bottom, his name and all of that stuff. So using, again, your type tool, and you can either copy and paste this or type it as you go. His name for our purposes is Richard Smith. I typed that in all caps. Let's bring it over here. Let's make it white. And holding down Shift, click and drag and give it a nice size. The realtors always want to make sure their name is nice and big because we want that property, that listing, to be associated with them. So make sure their name is bigger than any other type you have on here at this point, and that it goes next to their image. And now he is a realtor, so clicking anywhere with our type tool, again, we're just going to make these pieces and put them all together. Realtor, and if you hold down Option and the letter R, it makes that R in a circle. There's a little tip for you. Realtor, and he has a license number probably. License number 1234556, whatever that is. And now we're going to bring this over and put it here as a little sort of addendum to that name. Not too small. Again, I know it's hard to see because I'm zoomed out, so let's zoom in a little bit. There we go. Now a little tip also. If you select that little R in a circle, you go over to your character palette and make it a little smaller, let's say 7 points, maybe 6 points, and you use your baseline shift tool, that's the big A with the little A underneath it, and bump it up a few, you can see that it works as a little notation almost. I forget what they call that, superscript, and it goes above, the little symbol goes above the word the way they have it. Okay, so we've done that. Now we need to put his phone number, the address of his agency where he works, and his email address on the bottom. So again, using your type tool, just click anywhere. Oops, not there because that's in the one we just made. That's why it's good to click off the artboard sometimes. Let's put his the address of his company, which is 456 Elm Street. Again, Option and 8 makes a bullet point, space. Let's say your town, USA. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the address where he works, and underneath that we're going to put Richard at, let's say keep it all lowercase, yourtownrealty.com. That's his email address. So let's bring that up underneath. Oops, where did we have it over here? Let's take a look. I don't remember. Oh, his phone number was there. Okay, so we have this address over here. And we want to make the phone number too. So again, using your type tool, click off the artboard and put the phone number. There we go. And we'll make that very big also because they usually would like to be contacted by phone. And let's make that the next in the hierarchy of things that we look at. That is very, very visible. And so then let's bring over this and we'll create kind of a banner this way where it takes up about the same amount of space and fills up that line. Now, the email address is not as long, so let's highlight that only, make it a few points bigger, not too big, and let's space it out here, give it maybe 25 points, and maybe 50 points, and that takes up about the same amount of space. You'll want to spend time here to line things up better and make sure you don't space it out too much. Just play with these settings a little bit. I'm just going through these quickly. And you want to probably decrease the leading in there, so let's make it maybe 12. There we go. So now the address and the email address takes up about the same amount of space here as the phone number, and it makes a nice kind of a banner here for him. Now the only other thing I had here, and I just made this for this tutorial, is this silly little logo because he'll probably provide you with a logo, or you may have one if this is you, and that will need to go somewhere on the flyer. So again, holding down Shift, click and drag will make that bigger. Whatever we need to do, just work with that a little bit. You might actually want to pull this all the way out so it's as big as the entire thing. I don't like that. Let's see. Where did we go? Yeah, we'll just play with the spacing here and make it, there we go. That takes up a good amount of space. Okay. All right, and now we have his little logo there, and any other logos that they may have. They may have like #1 realtor of the town in the last whatever years. They'll supply you with the logos, and you need to put those, arrange those where they go. Now the only thing we're missing is the bullet points and the list price. So that, again, you just use your type tool and make it look as nice as possible. I'm going to go ahead to my text editor, and I'm going to select the bullet points that he provided me with. And with my text tool, I'm going to, let's go off the artboard again, click and drag a little box and paste those in there. It's a little bit big. I'm going to take away that spacing and make them about 9 points, and 9 on 12 is pretty good. Now we have 10 bullet points here, which is good because that means we can have equal spacing. We can split it into 2 and make it 5 and 5. So let's go ahead and bring it over. It's a little bit small. Let's make it maybe 10 points on 13. That's good. And I'm going to cover over the bottom in the center and bring that up until we get to built in 1990, because then we have 5 bullet points. And you see what that does is a little red warning box comes up that's telling you, hey, there's more type here. You're cutting your type off, which is fine. Click on that little plus sign, and you see your cursor changes to this little weird box next to it. Click off the artboard, just click, and it's going to create another box that finishes up that type for you. So there we go. And now we have them aligned together. And you might want to make them that green color to make them pop out a little bit using our arrow tool. Just select that green color, and now they pop out a little bit. You might want to make them bold because they're not popping. I don't think they're popping enough. There we go. Now they're bold. You might want to make them a little bigger. That's your choice. And now the last thing we have is the list price up there. So let's go ahead and just create that. It's a lot easier just to click and type, click and paste. We're going to say list price. We're going to make that a nice scripty font over here in our character palette. I'm going to use Bickham script. Make it larger by hovering, clicking, and dragging. There we go. Let's make that green. Click. And now let's type the price. This is a steal at $780,000. Oops, too many zeros. And click and drag. I don't want to leave it in that font. I'm going to change that to Arial Black to make sure that's big. Ooh, not that big. Again, hold down Shift, hover, click and drag, and then move it about there so it pops out nice and large. And now we're just going to put, you can put anything here if they have a slogan. I'm just going to put call for open house dates. And we're going to make that smaller. I think using our eyedropper tool, let's make it the size of our body text there and make it italic so it pops a little bit. So there we go. That's the whole flyer we just recreated here in a few minutes. It is ready to go. If you're going to print this yourself, all you do is print and it goes to your printer. Just select shrink to fit so you get the entire thing in there. If you're sending it to a printer though, you would need to outline everything, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute right before I show you how to change the colors. So say this is your flyer, but maybe you want to see how it looks in blue. Just select with your white arrow, select the top triangle, the address banner, and the bottom oval. And now just go over to our color picker and let's pick a blue and see how that looks in blue. Changes the look of it right away. That looks nice too. Let's try a nice orange because that's my color. Ooh, something like, not like that. That looks ugly. How about a nice bright orange? There we go. Ooh, that kind of makes it pop too. It's a little bit garish, but there we go. You can play with it that way and see which way you like it better, which way your client likes it better. Then you can go ahead and change these to that color if you want. Say if we want that orange, we might change the list price and these bullets also to orange, or you might not because it may not be, oops, it may not be the right color for these. But that's up to you, and that's where the fun part is deciding what colors you're going to make it and playing with it that way. Okay, so your flyer is done. So let us save this. Go to File, Save, and we're going to call this Tutorial Flyer, saving it in our folder. .ai. You want to save a fully Illustrator layered file before you do anything else. So save that. Okay. Okay, that took forever. I'm going to get rid of this actually because we don't need these things in here for our print file. So you save this as a layered document because you want to always be able to go back and make changes to it. But for your printer, what you need to do is select everything and go to Type, Create Outlines. That changes your fonts from fonts into graphics. So if you send this to a printer, there's going to be no problem opening that up. And then you're going to save it as a PDF, and that's what printers want generally. Tutorial flyer PDF into your folder. Up here in your settings, we're going to check press quality, uncheck optimize, and uncheck preserve Illustrator capabilities. We don't want that. On your compression, make sure that it is at least at 300. It should default to that. Sometimes it doesn't. If you have done any other changes, you don't want it to downsample. And now save the PDF. That might take a little minute too. Nope, not as long as the other one. And there you go. Now you have your flyer ready to send to a printer or to print yourself. It is all good, and that is the most basic flyer I could think of, with just your listing images, property description, but a little bit of pizzazz to make it sort of stand out. Okay, thanks again so much for watching. I hope this helped you, and until next time, bye-bye.